Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here at Marshall Stannis Industries, right, my big thing is trying to recommend you shows or movies that are like hidden gems that you haven't heard of before, or get really in depth and analyze really deep and profound movies and shows. Recently, this channel has been overwhelmed, however, by Married at First Sight Australia because it's just the most unhinged reality show and it would be a waste not to talk about it. So today we're striking a bit of a chord because I have an underrated recommendation for a reality show that you probably haven't heard of that's just started on Netflix. Now, Netflix reality shows compared to the best reality shows aren't very good a lot of the time. Love is Blind's pacing is awful, and a lot of Netflix reality shows like Perfect Match are genuine brain rot and not even like fun turn your brain off brain rot like maybe Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, like actual sort of like it feels like you're getting a lobotomy.
I think you're the biggest scammer sitting here today.
And then yet I'm the only one that gets called like a nasty person and disgusting and wants to date the devil. That don't make no sense.
But out of nowhere, this show has dropped on Netflix called $1 Million Secret, and it's hosted by one of the cast members of John Wick, the guy that works at the Continental, I think, don't quote me on that. But yeah, this guy from John Wick. And the premise here is fucking awesome. All right, so let's get into it. And then for those of you who have seen the first 3 episodes, I'm going to go through the most interesting moments and give like a recap. So first, it's going to be a spoiler-free recommendation. Then I'm going to try to sell you on the show a bit more using spoilers, and then a full-on spoiler discussion. So the show's premise, right, is the idea is a bunch of strangers show up to this lavish mansion, again hosted by that suave guy from John Wick. He essentially tells them like, hey, you're going to go back to your apartment and all of you have these boxes. And every single one of you is going to open these boxes by yourself and you're going to realize that either it is completely empty or you have $1 million. That is your $1 million secret.
Imagine being invited here, finding $1 million in your room, but only if you can hide the fact you've won the money.
Dun, dun, dun. So then from there, their job is to figure out who got the $1 million. And the person who has the $1 million, it's their job to deceive everyone and act like they don't have the $1 million. And then they do a bunch of challenges that gives them hints and clues. And then they have a voting ceremony every episode where the group votes for who they think has the $1 million. And if you are decided that they believe you have the $1 million, you get voted off, even if you do or don't have the $1 million, right? So if they all go, yo, Barry is being weird as fuck, I reckon he's got the $1 million, Barry might just be a weird unit and he gets sent home. And then the person that has the $1 million, you know, scurries off and tries to deceive them for the rest of the game. So you're probably sitting there being like, oh, it would suck to get the $1 million first. Yes, maybe, but also if you're a very good deceiver, you might be able to like get away with it until the very end. Unfortunately, this show is built on kind of like social anxiety and social discomfort. So my favorite part about the show, and it's very well thought out, I must say, compared to, I recently watched Beast Games, and when Beast Games was working, it was quite good, but the issue is a lot of the games in Beast Games were really poorly thought out, very anticlimactic, and not super interesting to watch. Whereas in $1 Million Secret, they have this great idea, right, where they're like, okay, the millionaire could probably do a good job if they're just a low-key person. So to incentivize them to kind of act a bit out of pocket, we're going to give them challenges. So the host gives them a challenge and then they try and pull off this social anxiety challenge to get basically a boost in their voting power. So then when it comes to the voting ceremony, their vote now holds 3, right? It's times 3. So if they've fucked up a bit and people are onto them, they might be able to sway the vote by who they vote for. Does that make any sense? Essentially, they complete a challenge to get more voting power at the commitment ceremony. And what are these challenges, you may ask? Well, they're awkward as fuck. They're awkward as fuck. On top of that, everyone knows that these challenges are given out. They don't know what the challenges are, but they know that challenges are given that they need to complete, a secret task. So an example of the task could be shake everyone's hand by 3 p.m., okay? So then you need to make sure you shake everyone's hand, no matter how awkward or uncomfortable or clunky that transition is. And the issue is, if you are really bad at it and don't make it look convincing and it comes off really clunky and unnatural, they might sit there and go, oh, I'm going to vote for you. I reckon you're the secret millionaire. Now, I know this sounds stupid and not interesting, but the first person, right? And I don't want to give it away in case you haven't seen the show, but for now, spoiler free, the first person that has the $1 million, their task is to walk around and give everyone a hug by, I think it's like nighttime, let's say 5 p.m. Watching them try and hug everyone is so painful. Initially, the hugs are really easy. It's really natural and just like, oh, come in here. We're all friends. When this person's trying to hug people that they've never spoken to in their life, and they're on the other end of the apartment and they're on the other end of the mansion and they've got like a minute, it's hilarious. It's so fascinating. All right, so if you want to know nothing, leave the video now. But if you're still interested in me talking about $1 Million Secret, stick around. So the first person to get the $1 million, I believe her name is Lauren. She's Lauren, all right? And for lack of a better term, she's kind of just like a soccer mom, right? And she has the advantage initially. You're like, who's going to suspect her? Lovely old Lauren. But she instantly starts going like, oh, I have a massive problem with lying. Like, I just hate lying, and it kind of goes against my morals. I'm like, babe, this is like the one time where even morally it's okay to lie. Everyone's playing a game of deceit. You're okay. Like, lie, please.
I hate lying, so I'm struggling at the morality of it, and yet that's the game.
So she gets the $1 million. Her first task is to hug everyone, and by some miracle, she pulls it off.
Never use a hug to benefit me. I'm struggling a lot. Big hug too, Sydney. Okay, you're very tall.
And I think she had a bit of an advantage here because she's the local mum. If you gave it to some like weird as fuck creepy guy and he had to go hug all the women and he's sitting there being like, where my hug at? Where my hug at? It would be rough. But because it's Lauren, I feel like this task goes well for a while, up until the end where it gets really awkward and again, really fun to watch her kind of squirm and figure out how to hug like Corey, for example, right at the other end of the mansion. Good stuff. But then maybe the best moment of the first episode, the fact that Harry, this like old dude, gets voted off just because of his weird fucking vibe. This is so hysterically funny to me. So Harry at the start of the show, they're all sitting down at dinner and he's like, can we do like a traditional Hawaiian prayer?
In Hawaii, we hold hands and we do what's called a pule. So somebody else can lead it, please. But we should do it as a pule, which is just holding.
Can we all hold hands and say grace? And then most people are like, I want to fucking do that, Harry. That's weird as shit. And then, and then as a result, everyone thinks Harry is weird because he tries to get them to pray. And then later on in the episode, he asks them to all put their hands together and go, woo, team hug for the team challenge. So yeah, everyone sits there and goes, I reckon Harry's kind of challenge, Harry's secret task was to get us all to hold hands or touch everyone's hands. Fuck Harry. So then at the dinner, Harry gets voted off and he opens his case and $1 million wasn't there. So yeah, Harry got completely screwed. We then get to episode 2, and again, the highlight of this show are these secret tasks. And the secret task escalates. Now, to get supreme voting power, Lauren has to weave in a bunch of like song titles into conversations. So she's given 5 songs. This is like Smooth Criminal, You Don't Always Get What You Want, something like that. I think it's Smooth Criminal, You Need to Calm Down, Every Rose Has Its Thorns.
Smooth Criminal, Every Rose Has Its Thorns, Don't Stop Believing, Cry Me a River, and finally, You Need to Calm Down.
Watching Lauren go up to people in breakfast and then be like, damn, you know, I need to learn to scramble my eggs, but everyone takes it so seriously. It's like, you need to calm down.
One of those. Some people take it so seriously, it's like, you need to calm down, right? You need to calm down.
And then she's talking to someone else and she's like, we need to be really suspicious, all right? Because, you know, people that look innocent, they might not be, because like every rose has its thorns. It's so painful, but it gets more interesting because then there's another kind of team challenge in this episode, and then the winner of the team challenge gets a hint. And the hint is that the secret millionaire at breakfast was doing their challenge and it was a smash hit.
I was working on their secret agenda at yesterday's breakfast with all of you there, and it was a smash hit.
So then he goes up to the table and he's like, guys, the hint was that they were doing their challenge this breakfast. So can we all try and remember where we were at breakfast? And also, apparently it was a smash hit. And initially, Lauren shitted herself because someone at the table goes, smash hit, that sounds like music. And then you watch a table full of morons go, nah, that couldn't be it. It must be about food, like smashed avocado. And I'm like, bro, are you serious? So the table quickly loses any kind of like right path they had. But then there's this amazing moment where Se Young, all right, this random lovely woman, just kind of starts crying because she gets asked one question, which is, hey, we're going to rearrange our seating arrangement to remember where we were at breakfast and see if that jogs our memory. And for some reason, she can't remember. She can't remember where she was sitting at breakfast, which, like, to be fair, was suspicious. And then this guy his name is Phil. He's like, yo, that's weird as fuck that you can't remember where you were sitting. She instantly breaks down crying, making herself look more suspicious. And the worst part of this whole situation is Sei Young isn't the millionaire.
I'm not being emotional.
I'm not saying you're being emotional. It's just.
She's just crashing out and the pressure is crushing her. And how do you think this goes for Sei Young? That's right. End of the night, Sei Young is voted off completely. So this is where the show gets really interesting. This is just the first 3 episodes, by the way. So even if you've watched this spoiler discussion, catch up on the first 3 episodes and then it's dropping weekly. So this is where it gets really, really interesting, right? So Lauren is given the opportunity to like let go of the $1 million, which in my opinion, I still don't think there's much advantage of. Like, I don't get why you'd let it go because you might not come into contact with it again. And I get the idea is like, oh, then I can just play the game with everyone else. But it's like you're playing the game to then get the $1 million back, in which you will then have to be suspicious again. Like, you know, I just feel like I would rather keep the $1 million and get better at not being suspicious. But this backfires so hard. So she's given the option by John Wick cast member to essentially give the $1 million, randomly reassign it to someone else. So essentially the game restarts again, but now they're down 2 people. She says yes on this. She says yes. And then in a very smart move, in my opinion, opens up to the group and says, hey, I was the secret millionaire. And this is where the group, similar to a lot of moments in Beast games, just gets completely unrelatable and strange to me. They start being like, how can we ever trust you? You've deceived us. How could you do this? I'm like, you're all playing this game, right? Like, you're all playing this game where if you get given $1 million, you want to keep it and lie to everyone. And they're like, we can't trust you. Fuck you. So then she's like, okay, like, I'll tell you information. I'll clue you in on a bunch of secrets, how it works when you're the millionaire, so we can use that to strategize and find the next millionaire. And then a lot of them are still butthurt. They're like, no, we don't like you. We don't trust you. And I was scratching my head here being like, like, you literally have someone else you can't trust now. Like, give her a break. But where I think Lauren fucks up a bit, she tells them one of the tasks. It was either the song lyric one or the hug one. I forget which one, but she tells them one of the tasks. And then they go, oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. It might have been the song one. She says it was a smash hit. And they all go, oh, okay, cool. And then they go, okay, what was the other challenge? And she goes, I'm not going to tell you that. You know, I still need an advantage. I still need to strategize.
I'm learning. I can't tell all of it because I'm like, I want an advantage. I know what it looks like. Okay, I'm taking pride in the fact that I lied to a lot of you, but I also just gave you valuable information.
This, in my opinion, was a dumb moment from Lauren. Just be open at this point, and then if you get the $1 million again, they're probably going to be more likely to trust you because you've been transparent. But she starts being like, nah, I still need an advantage. Like, I'm not telling you guys everything that I did or everything that goes on, which, yeah, just dumb moment. Also, I feel like you'd want to let people know so then you can strategize better. I didn't think this was a good move from Lauren, and a lot of people don't, because this backfires on Lauren so hard. Also, why not just lie or just not make a big deal that you're not telling them? Like, if they ask, maybe you get a bit cagey or maybe tell them a different thing. But there was no advantage to not telling them the first challenge. They know you did 2 challenges. And if they don't know that you did 2 challenges, don't tell them that you did 2 challenges. I don't think it's worth not telling them. It doesn't reward you with much advantage at all. And now they think you're suspicious as fuck. So moving on, we find out Phil has the $1 million. And you know what? For a while, I think Phil is completely crushing it. Phil crushes having the $1 million for quite a while. Now, Kara, this random lady Kara, does catch on to Phil being a bit strange, but everyone else is like, nah, it's not Phil. Don't buy it. Phil does really well for quite some time until we get to like this moment at the next voting ceremony. Phil now has the $1 million, right? He's doing really well. And then he gets to the dinner and there has been this rivalry that has brewed between Lauren and Sydney. Lauren thinks Sydney has the $1 million, right? She's like, nah, Sydney's weird as fuck. And I do think part of this is a bit of a personal bias. Lauren at one point is talking to the camera and says to the camera, like, I've dealt with girls like Sydney before. I know what they think of me. I know what I think of her. So there's clearly a bit of a complex going on, but I will say Sydney does feed it. Sydney is picking at Lauren and vice versa. Lauren starts picking at Sydney. So regardless, Lauren's like, Sydney's the one with the $1 million. Sydney takes a different approach. She goes, well, Lauren definitely doesn't have the $1 million. We know it's been reassigned. However, I don't think Lauren is a team player. We're going to get rid of her anyway. And Sydney manages to convince most of the group that they're just going to get rid of Lauren. They're like, you know what? I don't want... Phil, by the way, makes a really good point, even though Phil is the one with the $1 million. He says, I would rather vote for Lauren. I reckon that's a good move because I don't want to vote for the actual millionaire and then have the $1 million assigned to me at this point. It's too early. Which you can say this opinion is informed by the fact that he has the $1 million. But regardless, this was a really smart move. It's really smart, coherent logic. And if I was in the other voters' positions, I'd be like, yeah, fucking good point, Phil. Let's get rid of Lauren. Now, the group decides to get rid of Lauren and half the group decides to get rid of Sydney because they think Sydney's been suspicious. The vote gets split down the middle. Meanwhile, there has been this cop character, this lady cop character who's lied to the group and said she's like a dentist or an oral hygienist. She's a cop and she's really good. She figured out it was Lauren from the jump and she's now sitting there feeling a bit vindicated because she wanted Lauren gone and she was right about Lauren, but now she's watching the group vote for Lauren and she's not sure how to feel. Very interesting stuff. Regardless, Phil is actually the deciding vote because the first vote, it's a 50-50 split. The next vote, it's a 50-50 split again, but they say whoever the millionaire votes for will be the deciding vote if it's another tie. So Phil votes for Lauren. Lauren is gone. And then this backfires for Phil because then, given a bunch of information clues, given the fact that there was this challenge where dogs were chasing people, the hint was like the owner of the $1 million didn't get chased by a hound. So it narrows it down to like 5 or 6 people. And then on top of that, it gets narrowed down again according to who the millionaire voted for because the millionaire was the deciding vote. Meaning it's like 3 people. I believe it's Sydney, Corey, and Phil.
That the millionaire is either Sydney, Corey, or Phil.
I think those are the people at the end. Sydney and Corey both go, yeah, I voted for Lauren. Phil doesn't say shit in maybe the biggest blunder we've seen of the entire show. Phil sits quiet, even though everyone knows Phil already voted for Lauren. The fact that he doesn't stick his hand up, the fact that he doesn't stick his hand up and say, yeah, I voted for Lauren also, kind of dooms him. And that's it. That's the end of episode 3. So if you guys have enjoyed this video, if you guys are interested, you must watch $1 Million Secret. Is it trashy? Yes. Is it brain dead? No. I am sitting there constantly watching this show hooked, being like, what would I do? Could I do this? How would I do that? Who would I be suspecting at this point? That's actually a good strategy. I thought this was so entertaining. It's only 3 episodes so far, grand total of 8 episodes. More episodes are dropping Wednesday. Check it out. I genuinely think this is like a Netflix reality banger, and I want you guys to be on it early. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, consider liking. Also, I offer memberships to this channel where I talk about everything I've watched in a given month and also talk about every episode of White Lotus and also talk about every episode of White Lotus as it comes out. Please consider getting a membership if you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely day. Bye, guys.